At Thanksgiving, my mom told me, out of my kids, you're the one that adds nothing. You're useless. Instead of blowing up, I revealed 2 years of secret financial support. I gave them, humiliated her, and announced I'm done being their ATM forever. Hey Reddit, figured I'd finally share the mess that went down in my family. I'm the middle kid who everyone swore was useless, even while I was the one patching holes and keeping things from collapsing. For years I stayed quiet, mostly because of my dad's health, but last Thanksgiving I finally put the receipts on the table. Let's just say it changed everything, and not in the way my mom or siblings expected. So I guess if I had to sum up my family in one word, it'd be lopsided. And I don't mean in the cute, quirky family sitcom kind of way. I mean like one of those cheap tables at a diner where one leg is shorter, and every time you cut into your steak, the whole thing wobbles. That's my family. Stable looking from the outside, but if you sit down long enough, you'll see the cracks. I'm Chester, 34 male, electrical engineer. Not the guy people picture when they think useless middle child. But hey, my mom managed to brand me with that title and never let it go. I didn't grow up wanting to be the family's unpaid IT guy, chauffeur, and backup wallet, but here we are. Now, my mom, Donna, she's the captain of the ship. Always has been. And by captain, I mean the type who would scream at you for pointing out the iceberg while she's busy bragging about how shiny the deck chairs look. My dad, Robert, used to balance her out, but the man's been in bad health for years. Diabetes, heart problems, then gallbladder surgery a while back. He's the only reason I stuck around and didn't just go no contact when I was 25. He actually sees me, respects me. He knows what I do, but he also knows trying to stand up to Donna is like trying to outshout a jet engine. Then there's my siblings. Oh boy. My older brother Marvin works in medical device sales. Translation: he gets to wear nice suits and post LinkedIn humble brags about helping patients. Reality: he pushes overpriced gadgets to doctors and cashes commission checks when the stars align. And somehow, Donna talks about him like he cured cancer. And my little sister, Camilla. She's in HR. Official title: HR business partner at some mid-sized company. What she actually does is fire people and act like she's saving the company culture in the process. She'll tell you all about her strategic role in the business world while sipping her overpriced oat milk latte. Mom eats it up like she's the CEO of Fortune 500 herself. So yeah, Marvin is the flashy success story. Camilla is the responsible princess. And then there's me, the one who designs power systems for plants and factories, makes sure electrical grids don't fry themselves, and pulls 60-hour weeks making real things work. But apparently, according to Donna, I play with wires. That's the script. That's been the script for 30 plus years. Growing up, the favoritism wasn't even subtle. Marvin got praised for showing up with C's on his report card. At least he's social, Donna would say. Camilla could throw tantrums that looked like WWE performances, but Mom would laugh it off as spirited. Meanwhile, if I so much as rolled my eyes, I was disrespectful and ungrateful. Birthdays? Classic setup. Marvin gets a bike, Camilla gets a Barbie dream house. I get zoo animals toys, and not fun toys, used ones. Christmas gifts weren't any better. If I bought Mom something nice with my grocery store paycheck, she'd smile, say thanks, and then gush for 20 minutes about the gift card Marvin bought her on the way over. And me? I just stood there, smiling like a clown, thinking maybe next year would be different. Spoiler, it wasn't. By the time college rolled around, I'd already figured out the game. I went into electrical engineering because, 1, I liked building things that didn't blow up, and 2, I wanted a job where no one could call me lazy or a dreamer. Engineering isn't glamorous, but it's solid. It pays. It matters. When I told Donna, she wrinkled her nose like I just told her I was majoring in underwater basket weaving. Wires and boxes, Chester? That's not a career. Why can't you be like Marvin and work with people? Or like Camilla with something respectable? Respectable. She really said that. Like designing systems that keep hospitals from losing power. Mid-surgery isn't respectable. But fine. I shut up, worked my ass off, graduated, landed a job, and started climbing. Didn't matter though. Every phone call home went the same way. That's nice, Chester. Did you hear Marvin hit his sales target? They're flying him to Chicago for a conference. Good for him, Mom. I just finished a project keeping an entire industrial plant from blowing a fuse. Anyway, Camilla's boss said she's got leadership potential. It was like talking to a brick wall, except the brick wall would probably say, good job at least once. Here's the thing. I wasn't just ignored, I was also the go-to fix-it guy. Need help moving? Call Chester. Need the Wi-Fi fixed? Call Chester. Need someone to drive Dad to a 6 a.m. appointment? Call Chester. Need extra cash because you mismanaged your own? Call Chester. I should have said no. A lot of people will read this and call me a doormat. But the truth is, I stayed in it because of Dad. He was sick, he needed stability, and he used to pull me aside and say stuff like, "Son, I know you're carrying more than your share. I appreciate it." That kept me going. Not Donna's approval, not the siblings' respect, just Dad knowing I was there. So yeah, I ate a lot of crap. I kept quiet while Donna bragged about Marvin's medical career, its sales lady, and Camilla's executive skills. HR emails aren't executive. I let them treat me like background noise. I kept paying bills in the shadows, fixing problems no one noticed. But don't get it twisted. I wasn't weak. I was just biding my time. People assume being the middle kid means you're ignored. In my family, it meant I was the one who got volunteered for everything nobody else wanted to touch. If it was messy, boring, or inconvenient, Donna's eyes went straight to me. Chester can handle it. That line was practically her catchphrase. Take Dad's appointments. Half the time they were at 6 in the morning across town. You think Marvin was getting up before sunrise? Please. He couldn't cancel his dinner meetings. Camilla? She'd suddenly remember she had an urgent HR issue. Guess who ended up driving, sitting in waiting rooms, and keeping track of meds? Me. I used to joke that if my engineering gig didn't work out, I had enough hours logged to start a second career as a chauffeur. Then there were the house problems. The furnace died one January. Donna panicked like the world was ending. Marvin called a contractor, got a ridiculous quote, and then bailed when he realized he'd have to pay part of it. Camilla stood around saying, "This is why I rent." And I spent that entire weekend elbow deep in the basement, replacing wiring and controls so the place wouldn't freeze. When it finally kicked back on, Donna just said, "About time." No thanks. No nothing. Just about time. And money. Oh man. The Bank of Chester got a lot of traffic. Donna's car was the worst. She bought one way above what they could actually afford, then called me in tears when the bank came sniffing around. "It'll only be a month or two until your father's back on his feet," she said. A month or two turned into 2 years of $1,500 payments. She paraded that car around the neighborhood like it was a trophy, while I drove my rusty truck hoping the muffler didn't fall off. Marvin wasn't much better. Mr. Big Sales Guy had months where his commissions didn't land fast enough. Suddenly he'd call me, whispering like it was some spy mission. "Bro, I just need you to bridge me till the next check. Promise I'll pay you back." Yeah, right. The only thing he paid back was his ego. 2 months later, he showed up wearing a new watch and never mentioned the loan again. Camilla had her turn too. She blew through her savings on a Europe trip and then realized her HR certification exam wasn't free. Called me late one night, said it was an investment in the family's future, like I was going to see a return on her career. I covered it. She passed, got the job, and then had the audacity to call me difficult at dinner. If I was difficult, she was bankrupt. But here's the difference. I wasn't saying yes to everything. When Marvin tried to rope me into funding his idea of flipping gym equipment, I told him if he wanted to build a gym out of Craigslist junk, he could knock himself out without me. When Camilla begged me to co-sign on a condo lease she had no business affording, I laughed and asked her if HR also stood for hilarious requests. And when Donna tried to sneakily plan a family vacation and drop the cost on me, I told her point blank, "I'm not paying to sit on a beach with people who treat me like I don't exist." That one shut her up for a while. The real reason I kept saying yes to the important stuff was Dad. He never asked, not once, but he knew. He'd pull me aside after appointments or when I covered bills and say, "Son, I know what you're doing. I appreciate it." That was enough for me. It wasn't about Donna's approval or keeping score with Marvin and Camilla. It was about making sure Dad didn't carry stress he couldn't handle. Still, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was a cost. I watched my friends buying houses, trading up cars, going on trips. I was making solid money but living like I was broke, because half my paycheck was patched into other people's emergencies. I had savings once, but it drained faster than I could refill it. The funny part? Nobody noticed. They all just assumed I was fine, because that was easier than admitting they were leaning on me. I kept track, though. Dates, amounts, transfers. Not because I expected a dime back. Let's be real, I'll never see it. But because I knew the day would come when Donna ran her mouth a little too far, and I'd finally get to unload the truth. Not yelling, not begging, just facts. Cold, hard receipts. That's what I had tucked away. And honestly, the knowledge that I could drop them at any time kept me sane. But around the same time I was stacking evidence against my family freeloading, something finally shifted for me. For once, I wasn't just patching holes in other people's boats, I was building my own. Work had been chewing me up for years. Late nights on site, dragging my laptop into greasy break rooms, dealing with clients who thought electricity was just magic that came out of a wall socket. Most days felt like a grind, but then management finally noticed I wasn't just another guy running cables. I got tapped to lead a major upgrade project at one of the plants. Not assist, not play backup. Lead. My team, my call, my design. It was the kind of job that makes your blood pressure spike, because if you screw up, the whole place shuts down. But it also came with a fat bonus check if we delivered. Spoiler, we delivered. Ahead of schedule, under budget. My boss actually patted me on the back, which is saying something because this guy usually treats compliments like they're a tax write-off. Then he slides the bonus envelope across the table and says, "You've got a future here, Chester. Keep this up and you'll be running more than projects." I didn't say it out loud, but all I could think was, stick that in your brag bag, Donna. And while work was finally cutting me a break, so was life outside of it. My girlfriend Jenna had been my anchor through all of this. We'd been together a couple years, and she was the first person who ever made me feel like I didn't have to prove my worth every second of the day. She liked that I was steady, that I could fix things, that I didn't crumble every time crap hit the fan. She called me dependable, but not in a boring way. More like the guy you want next to you when stuff goes wrong. That's a hell of a lot better than useless middle kid, I'll tell you that. So yeah, I did the thing. Took her out on a weekend trip. Nothing crazy, just the mountains, a cabin, a view that didn't look like a job site. Popped the question. She said yes. Simple ring. No fireworks, no Instagram scavenger hunt proposal, just us. And it was perfect. For once, my life didn't feel like it was on pause while everyone else sprinted ahead. I had a project win at work, a bonus in the bank, and a fiancé who actually respected me. I was building something that had nothing to do with my family, and everything to do with me. And of course, in my head, I thought, this is it. This is the year I get to walk into Thanksgiving and drop actual news. The kind they can't shrug off or compare to one of Marvin's fake humble brags or Camilla's office politics. Now, naturally, Donna didn't see it that way. The weeks leading up to Thanksgiving, she was already in hype mode for her chosen children. Every phone call was the same script. Your brother might be moving into a partnership role. Big step for him, Chester. Partnership role? He sells medical devices. The only partnership he has is with his credit card company. But okay, sure, Mom. And your sister, oh, she's flying to Chicago for a big HR strategy offsite. Her boss says she's really a people person. They rely on her insight. Yeah, Camilla's insight probably consisted of saying, let's circle back and clicking mute on Zoom. But hey, sounds like CEO material. I didn't argue. I've learned it's not worth the energy. I just shrugged, let her gush, and kept my news in my back pocket. Because this time I wasn't going to blurt it out over the phone only to have her pivot straight into, "That's nice, dear. But did you hear what Marvin's doing?" Nope. This time it would be face to face, at the table, with Dad sitting there to hear it. Speaking of Dad, he was the one person I was excited to tell. I don't think he ever doubted me, even when Donna turned ignoring me into a sport. Whenever I helped out, he'd give me that quiet nod like he knew I was carrying more than anyone admitted. He respected what I did, so telling him I'd landed a lead project and an engagement felt right. I knew he'd actually get it. Still, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. It's hard to untrain yourself after years of being brushed off. Part of me worried I'd make my announcement, and Donna would immediately cut me off with, well, speaking of engagements, did I tell you Camilla got asked to join a new committee? But another part of me, the sarcastic, confident part, was itching for her to try. Because this time, I had ammo. I had my receipts. And I had wins she couldn't twist. Jenna asked me if I was sure about telling them at Thanksgiving. You don't owe them anything, she said. She wasn't wrong. But for me, it wasn't about owing. It was about finally showing up with something that wasn't me cleaning up their mess. I wanted them to see me not as the guy they leaned on, but the guy who built his own damn life. So I told her, yeah, I was sure. If nothing else, I'd get the satisfaction of watching Donna's face when I dropped the news. Thanksgiving was set. Turkey, football, the usual chaos. Except this year, the middle kid had news that wasn't going to fade into background noise. And if they didn't like it, well, that's what cold, hard receipts are for. Thanksgiving at the Walsh house was always noisy. Turkey roasting, football blaring, uncles shouting at referees like they could hear them, cousins glued to their phones, Aunt Susan sneaking samples in the kitchen. Grandma Eleanor sat at the far end of the table like a judge, watching everything with that sharp look that made people sit straighter. Donna, of course, ran around like she was hosting a royal banquet, barking orders and finding something wrong with everyone. I walked in with a pie under my arm. Dad was the first to greet me, that warm shoulder squeeze and half smile that meant more than words. Donna looked me over and said, "Next time, try being on time." I was 8 minutes early. "Relax," I said. The turkey didn't notice. The table filled up fast. Marvin cracked stories about sales like he was headlining a TED Talk. Camilla sprinkled in HR wisdom, like anyone cared. Donna lit up at every word out of their mouths. Aunt Susan laughed at everything. Uncle Frank made his usual bad jokes, and my cousins barely looked up unless food was involved. Same script as every year, except I wasn't here to play background. I waited for a lull, then tapped my glass. Got a little news. Dad looked at me, eyebrows up. Grandma leaned forward. Even the cousins perked up. Work promoted me. I led a major plant upgrade, finished early, under budget, and landed a nice bonus. I kept it short. Dad smiled, proud. "That's great, son. Thanks." I slid the ring box from my pocket, flipped it open on my plate. "Also, Jenna said yes." The table broke. Aunt Susan gasped. Grandma clapped my hand. Dad raised his glass. A couple cousins even whistled. For once, I wasn't invisible. Then Donna cleared her throat. "When were you going to tell us? After the wedding?" "I'm telling you now," I said. "Typical," she shot back. "Always secretive. Always keeping things to yourself. No wonder we never know what's going on with you. Honestly, I just worry about Jenna. What kind of woman says yes to you? You're 34, still fiddling with wires and boxes, living in that tiny apartment. You've never really accomplished anything significant. Out of my kids, you're the one that adds nothing. You're useless." The noise died instantly. Aunt Susan dropped her fork. Uncle Frank muttered, "Good God." Cousin Janet stared at her plate like it might explode. Even Marvin's smirk slid off his face. I didn't flinch. I'd been waiting for this. I stood up, calm, napkin in hand. "If I'm useless, then cut me off." "Oh, wait, you can't, because I'm the one keeping your lives together." Donna froze. "What?" "You heard me." I pulled out my phone, thumbed a few times, and held up the screen. August 22nd, $1,500 to you for car payments. September 15th, same thing. October 3rd, same thing. November 7th, $2,000 to help Dad with medical costs. That's 4 straight months. I've got 2 years logged right here. The table erupted in whispers. Aunt Susan turned to Donna. "Is that true?" Uncle Frank leaned back, shaking his head. "Grandma just watched me like she'd been waiting for me to finally swing." Donna's face tightened. "That was temporary." 2 years of temporary, I cut in. 2 years of me living tight while you paraded around in a car I was paying for. 2 years of me holding off on buying my own place because I was covering everyone else's problems. I turned to Marvin. "Remember when your commission check was late and your credit card was about to miss a payment? Who bailed you out?" Marvin's face went pale. "I knew you spotted me once. I didn't realize you paid all of it." "Yeah, $4,000. That was my house savings." I turned to Camilla. "And you, HR queen, who covered your exam fees when you blew your savings in Europe? Who topped off your rent one month?" "It wasn't a scholarship, Fairy." Camilla shifted in her chair. "I didn't know it was that much." "Of course you didn't, because Mom told me to keep it quiet. That's the theme here. I do the heavy lifting and she makes sure nobody hears about it. Meanwhile, I get called useless." Donna snapped, "Families help each other." "Exactly," I said. And I did. But families also show respect. Not tell everyone at the table I'm worthless while eating turkey I helped pay for. The room was dead silent. You could hear the football commentators in the living room yelling about a touchdown. Dad finally spoke, voice steady. "He's right. Chester's been carrying more than I ever asked him to. Driving me at dawn, covering gaps. I should have said something sooner. That's on me." Grandma set her glass down with a thud. "Donna, I am deeply disappointed in you. That boy has been the backbone of this family, and you've treated him like a spare part." Donna's eyes darted around the table, but nobody jumped in to rescue her. Aunt Susan shook her head. Uncle Frank muttered, "Damn shame." Even the cousins, usually checked out, stared at her like she'd grown a second head. I leaned forward. "So here's the deal. The Bank of Chester is permanently closed. You need me for Dad? I'll be there. You need me for Grandma? Absolutely. But if you think you can insult me 1 minute and text me bills the next, that's done," Donna hissed. "You're being dramatic." I smirked. "No, Mom. I'm being honest. Big difference." I sat back down, speared a piece of turkey, and let the silence hang. Thanksgiving had never been this quiet. I finished my turkey, pushed back my chair, and walked out. No long goodbye, no fake hugs. Just me, my coat, and the cleanest exit I'd ever made from that house. By the time I pulled into my building's lot, my phone was already lighting up. First Donna, then Camilla, then even Aunt Susan trying to check in. I dropped the phone face down on the counter and cut myself a piece of leftover pie. For once, I wasn't sprinting to answer everyone's emergencies. The place was quiet, and I liked it that way. The calls didn't stop. Black Friday morning, 6 missed calls. That night, 12. Donna was leading the charge, of course. Her voicemails were their own comedy routine. One sharp, the next sweet, then sharp again. Chester, this is not how adults handle things. Chester, you're upsetting your father. Chester, I didn't mean useless like that. It was like listening to 3 different people trapped in the same voicemail box. I ignored them all. For once, I let the weight land where it belonged. 2 days later, my phone buzzed again. Dad, I almost sent it to voicemail too, but something told me not to. Son, he said as soon as I picked up, his voice rough, I owe you an apology. I didn't say anything, just waited. I leaned too hard on you, he admitted. I let your mother handle things, and I didn't ask questions. You've done more than I realized. Driving me to appointments, covering bills I never asked you to cover. You've done more for this family than anyone's given you credit for. That's on me. I should have seen it. For a guy like my dad, that was heavy. He wasn't the type to use extra words. If he said it, he meant it. Thanks, Dad, I said finally. That means a lot. I didn't do it for applause. I did it because you needed it. But I can't keep bleeding myself dry while everyone else acts like I'm wallpaper. He let out a breath. You're right, and I'm grateful. Things are going to be different. That call, worth every second of silence I'd sat through since Thanksgiving. The next one was Marvin. I could hear the shame in his voice before he even started. Hey man, about the loan thing, I didn't realize Mom dumped that all on you. I thought it was just a little help. I feel bad. I'll pay you back. I almost laughed. Sure, Marvin. Just like you were going to start that treadmill flipping empire, right? He chuckled nervously. Yeah, I deserve that. Then quieter. But really, I'll try. Don't worry about it, I said. I already wrote it off as a loss. Just maybe stop flexing in front of everyone like you're self-made when you're standing on my wallet. He went silent for a beat, then muttered, Fair enough. Camilla was next. She didn't bother with shame. She came in swinging. You didn't have to cover for us, Chester. Nobody forced you. Right, I said. Next time, I'll let Mom's car get repossessed and tell the dealership to call you. My bad. That's not what I meant. No, it's exactly what you meant. You think me saying yes once meant I wanted to be everyone's ATM forever. I covered you because I wanted you to succeed. I didn't do it so you could keep pretending I don't pull my weight. She went quiet, then mumbled, Whatever. Click. Then came Donna. Of course. First message? Chester, this is ridiculous. Families don't air dirty laundry in front of everyone. Second, I don't know what's gotten into you. You're upsetting your father. Third, you've always been dramatic. I was just being honest. Fourth, maybe I was a little harsh, but you took it too far. Finally, Chester, maybe I shouldn't have said useless. I didn't mean it like that. I let her stew another day before picking up. Mom, I said flat, let's make this simple. No more car payments. No more emergency transfers. No more pretending I don't exist until you need my account number. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be based on respect, not withdrawals. You're twisting everything, she snapped. Am I? Because my bank app says otherwise. Silence. Then a sigh. Fine. Maybe I was harsh. Harsh is telling me green doesn't suit my shirt. Calling me useless in front of the whole family after I announced my engagement? That's not harsh, Mom. That's cruel. Chester, No. You don't need to explain. Just change. Because I'm done being the punching bag and the piggy bank. If you can't handle that, enjoy Thanksgiving next year without me. For once, Donna didn't have a comeback. I hung up, leaned back in my chair, and smiled for the first time in a long time. It wasn't just about shutting her down. It was about finally setting rules I should have set years ago. Thanksgiving had been quiet, but my phone, finally, was even quieter. That silence? That was peace. And the thing about peace is, once you've had a taste, you're not giving it back. I didn't just stop answering late-night guilt calls. I shut the tap completely. No more transfers, no more help just this once, no more sacrificing my paycheck so Donna could look polished while calling me useless. It didn't take long before the ripple hit. Within a month, Donna's car payment was late for the first time in years. Robert, who I never blamed for this mess, Called to let me know he and Donna were seeing a financial counselor. He sounded embarrassed, but also lighter. We should have done this a long time ago, he admitted. I believed him. He picked up a part-time gig at the hardware store, stocking shelves a few mornings a week, something he could handle without straining his health. I could hear the pride in his voice when he told me. Not because of the money, but because it was his, not mine. Donna? Whole different story. She wasn't happy about letting go of control. For years, she'd hidden bills behind my back, moved money around, and kept her image intact. Now she had to sell a few luxuries, jewelry she never wore, handbags she collected like trophies, even the fancy holiday china she swore was priceless. When I heard about that one, I laughed. She once told me, "This china is part of the family. Guess not when the mortgage is due." Word got around fast, too. My aunts and uncles already knew from Thanksgiving what had gone down, and now they were watching Donna's image crack. Aunt Susan called me one night and said, "She's quieter lately. It's strange." Strange to her, maybe. To me, it was proof that once the Bank of Chester closed, the Donna show didn't have a budget. Marvin didn't crash, but the hit was obvious. The guy who used to brag about dinners in the city and new watches was suddenly cooking at home more and focusing on the essentials. Translation: commission checks weren't stretching as far when I wasn't patching the gaps. He wasn't starving, but his lifestyle finally looked like a salesperson between cycles, not a mogul. I'd see his posts online, no more steakhouse selfies, just him smiling with a cup of coffee in his car. Subtle downgrade, but I noticed. Camilla was the most interesting. She didn't call me for months. I think part of her was embarrassed, part of her still mad. But eventually, she slipped up and texted, "Do you know a cheap mechanic? Car trouble." I stared at the message for a minute before answering. Google is free. She never asked me for money again. Guess the lesson stuck. Meanwhile, my life started to feel normal. And normal was a luxury I hadn't had in years. With no surprise transfers draining me, my paycheck actually lasted past the first of the month. For the first time since college, I saw a savings account balance that didn't look like a joke. Jenna and I started house hunting, and within 6 months we had keys to a place that was ours. Not Donna's, not Marvin's, not a family obligation hanging over me. Ours. Upgrading my truck was next. I loved my old one, but the engine was held together with prayers and duct tape. I drove home one night in a truck that didn't squeak when I turned the wheel, and it felt like I'd leveled up in life. Small things, but after years of being bled dry, they felt huge. The final nail in the coffin came when I sat down one weekend and opened a spreadsheet. I pulled up every transfer, every check, every emergency I'd covered. 2 years of receipts staring back at me like a trail of breadcrumbs. The total was ugly. Ugly enough that I knew Donna would never face it on her own. So I put it together like an invoice. Line items, dates, totals, neat and professional. At the bottom, I typed in bold, "Balance due, $0.00. Consider this closed," but never forgotten. I printed it, stuck it in an envelope, and mailed it straight to Donna. Not to collect. I didn't want a dime back. But I wanted her to see it, black and white, without wiggle room. No pretending. No brushing it off as helping each other. She never called about it. Not once. But 2 weeks later, Aunt Susan let it slip that Donna looked sick when she opened the mail at the kitchen table. Good. She needed to feel it. For 30 years, she'd been quick to measure my worth against Marvin and Camilla's trophies. Now she had numbers that told a different story. And me? I didn't feel guilty. Not anymore. For once, I wasn't the invisible middle child scrambling to prove I belonged. I was the guy who had pulled the family through when nobody else could. And now I was building something better with Jenna by my side. My dad respected me. My siblings had been humbled. And my mom, well, she finally had to live in a world where I wasn't her hidden credit line. Funny thing is, people always said I was the quiet one. But it turns out silence is loud when you stop carrying everyone else's noise. Months rolled by, and life looked completely different. I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't checking my phone like it was a bomb waiting to go off. And I wasn't calculating which emergency would gut me next. Jenna and I moved into our house, a place that smelled like fresh paint and freedom. We set up furniture together, argued about curtains, laughed about the squeaky floorboard in the hallway. It was ours. The truck sat in the driveway like a reminder of how far I'd come. Every time I turned the key, it purred instead of coughed, and I'd think, yeah, this is what happens when you stop letting people bleed you dry. Meanwhile, the Walsh family machine wasn't running so smoothly. Marvin cut back on his bragging because he couldn't back it up anymore. Camilla avoided me at gatherings altogether. And Donna, well, Donna had learned what it felt like when her image cracked. She couldn't keep up the same queen of the house act when everyone knew her useless son had been the one floating the family for years. The cracks showed. At Easter, she barely spoke above a mumble. At a summer barbecue, she smiled too wide, complimented me too much, like she thought flattery would erase history. I just smiled back and kept my distance. Respect is earned, not begged for after decades of cheap shots. Then came the phone call I knew would happen eventually. It was late on a Tuesday. I was sitting with Jenna sketching plans for some upgrades I wanted to do in the garage when my phone buzzed. Donna. For a second, I thought about letting it ring out, but curiosity got the better of me. Chester, she said, voice soft, almost shaky. We need help. Just a little. The mortgage? No. Silence. I didn't even explain. You didn't need to, I cut in. I heard help, and that was enough. Mom, you had 30 plus years to figure out how to respect me, and you blew it. I'm not your backup plan anymore. She sniffled. I said I was sorry. You said sorry because you lost your safety net, I replied. There's a difference. That was it. No yelling, no fight. I just hung up. Jenna looked at me across the table. You good? Better than good, I said. That was the last time she'll ever get to ask me for a bailout. The final piece came a month later, when Donna tried to corner me at a family get-together. The whole extended clan was there. Uncles, aunts, cousins, Grandma Eleanor, even Robert. She waited until I was by the grill, tongs in hand, and said, Chester, can we just start over? I set the tongs down, turned to her, and smiled. Sure, Mom. We can start over. But this time, I don't lend money, I don't take insults, and I don't stick around if you forget that. Her face froze. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Grandma, who was within earshot, just gave me the faintest nod. That was all the validation I needed. The truth is, I didn't want revenge. I didn't want them crawling or begging. I wanted peace. And peace came when I finally chose myself over their endless drama. Now, I've got savings in the bank, a roof that's mine, a fiancé who actually respects me, and a family of my own to build. Marvin can chase his commission checks. Camilla can run HR meetings. Donna can polish her China-less cabinets and figure out what respect actually looks like. None of it's my problem anymore. I used to think being the invisible child meant I had to fight twice as hard to be seen. Turns out, walking away and standing tall speaks louder than anything. And if my mom ever wonders what happened to the useless child, she can check the invoice I sent her, the one that showed every dime I ever gave, signed off with a balance due of 0. That wasn't just numbers. That was me finally closing the account. In every sense. Useless? Number I was the backbone the whole time. Now I'm just done carrying the dead weight.